the way, you got a cool necklace on there, man.
Yep. Some schmuck Brit got me this necklace. So he climbed up to the top of the mountain of Machu Picchu and gave me this shit. What is this? Where is this from? Tell them what this is.
Yeah, that's from Peru. It's not from Machu Picchu, but I got that from kind of like a witch doctor guy in Peru. Yeah. So it's a condor. It's the face of a condor, and he blessed it on a sacred site, which I guess a lot of people got decapitated at some point. So, yeah, man, you're looking lean, bro. That carnivore's working well, huh?
Yeah, bro, fucking real lean right now. I'm down to 192, and this is the first week. So last Sunday, oh boy, I went ham. I had 6,000 or 7,000 calories last Sunday, effortlessly. So apparently, like, there's this thing. I was on this podcast, the Mind Muscle podcast, and the two hosts of that show, they said that it's like a really big deal if you can eat 10,000 calories in a day. I said, really? That doesn't seem like that big of a deal. They're like, oh, no, you think it's not a big deal, but once you try to actually do it, like the last 3,000-4,000 calories are brutal. So I just took their word for it. I mean, these guys aren't bullshit artists. Dude, I had 6,000 calories, and someone asked me, said, oh, what was one of your thoughts when you were eating all this food? I said, I should have had another pizza. I had one pizza. I had 1,500 calories worth of cinnamon buns, 1,200 calories, 12 or 1,300 calories with pancakes, syrup, sausage, and bacon. And those two things were just breakfast. Then after that, I housed a pizza. I had a whole box of popsicles. I had a whole bunch of donuts. It was 6,000 calories. I went to sleep like I had a horrible night's sleep. But I went to bed and I was like, hey, I'm still kind of fucking hungry. So I don't know. I think I might be able to crush this 10,000 calorie thing. I don't think it'd be too much of an issue.
It don't seem like too much.
No, dude, I think you and I can. If we wake up and we just, instead of fasting all day, we actually just have our normal meals, and we have 5 of our normal meals, like it's not that big of a deal.
We go to the place in Ramsey for breakfast. What's it called?
No, Ridgewood, Raymond's.
Raymond's. Sorry,
Raymond's. We get their French toast with some eggs and bacon.
Yeah, we go there first, and then we do a lunch. We do a lunch at Kinchley's. Well, we gotta hit Favali's Trattoria. We gotta hit. Have you been to Favali's yet? No.
Oh, I didn't take you there. Oh, he didn't have it yet. I don't think Austin had the restaurant yet.
No.
So this is a great place, Favali's Trattoria. Like, so Austin opened up this restaurant, and their pizza there, it's coal fire pizza with fresh mozz they put on it. It's fucking banging. They got these mozzarella sticks there, and they also have these zeppelis. The zeppelis, they're covered in powdered sugar, Nutella, and rested on cannoli cream.
Holy moly.
This is so good. So we'd hit Kinchley's, we go there, and then maybe we cap it off with Cuban Pete's for dinner. I don't know.
Sure,
I don't know.
Fucking, yeah, bro. That's 10,000 calories for sure.
Easily. We could, and that'd be a normal day.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So we've interviewed so far. We've had Anthony Paroli, we've had Aaron Wellman, we've had Devin McCourty. So let's go for the super. Yeah, all these people so far we've had are pretty super successful. There's EA, Enzo Amore, Mandy Rose, Justin Tradow, Kevin Love. Who else?
Rolf Oman.
Rolf.
Yep.
Who else have we had?
Tim Foley, who's successful in a completely other way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who else we had? We had some other people.
Yeah, I forget. So with these people that we've had on so far, right? With these group of people that we've had on, they've all experienced extreme success, or have contributed to someone else's extreme success, right? Like Wellman, Anthony Paroli, like shit. Now this guy's going to be in charge of helping out like Tom Brady and all them, like with, and the guy, his head coach, Bruce Arians, is no fucking slouch. And he's been around Buddy. And then you got Kevin Love, who won an NBA championship and went to a handful of finals, right? Then you have Devin McCourty, went to 5 Super Bowls, won 3 of them. Mandy, she's a WWE fucking superstar now, and she has the most popular, the most active Instagram of any athlete. EA, shit, he was like the best in the world with a fucking best in the WWE with a microphone in his hand. What do all these people have in common? Right? Like, what made these motherfuckers so successful? Like McCourty, I mean, think about McCourty's upbringing. Like, what did he do? That was just, I mean, he just never gave up. He kept going, and he just did everything he could not to fuck up. Like, essentially,
I think for me, the thing that unifies them all is that they just keep pulling the trigger. It's, there's action going on. They're doing things the whole time. So many people get stuck in their own head, and they're in this like paralysis by analysis, and when this happens, then I'll be good enough to now do this. And these people are not sitting there with their hands out begging for people to put opportunities in their hands. They're going out and going to grab it. It's like watching like a bunch of lions watching the wildebeest cross the river. Have you ever seen a video of that?
No.
Hesitating. And then all of a sudden you get one hungry motherfucker that just runs in and just, takes one of them out, And sometimes he pulls them down to the ground, but sometimes he don't. But these people, they're not waiting, They're pulling the trigger all the time.
Yeah.
You gotta be, man.
Yeah, pulling the trigger all the time.
Because that's actually the way you learn. So many people think like, I have to do it right. I can't fail, but I mean, what even is that?
Yeah.
What is failing? Like as a term? Because I mean, if it's like, imagine the first time you tried to walk that you gave up then. It's like, as a little baby, you try and stand up. I see all these other people walking. I try, fall over once. Fuck it. That ain't going to work. I can't walk. Yeah. Or a bicycle. But the amazing thing is that we get good at things the more we keep doing it. And everybody's got they've got their own super talents. And they might be very varied. They're going to be a unique combination compared to everybody else. But they don't get to explore what their own talent is unless they're actually in the arena. They're always sitting on the sideline.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so I've always thought, I shouldn't say I've always thought, recently like one of my big things and past 5 years or so, I genuinely believe everyone can be great at something. I really believe that. And you just need to find your strengths. Like even dudes that seem like socially awkward and this and that, like they're still, they can figure something out and be super, super, super elite at it, right? We just need to figure out a way. And this is what I do with a lot of my interns. I figure out what it is that they're good at. And I try to like push that. Some guys are great assistants. I mean, you could still be the best assistant in the world and make a lot of money. Those exist. You don't have to be the number one guy. You could be a phenomenal researcher. One of my former interns is the guy I sent you the video of. He's super, super bright. And he even said to me, he goes, I'm actually kind of on the spectrum. I said, oh, get the fuck out of here. I had no idea. Like, I just thought he was a quirky guy. But he figured out a way, and he's just, and he'll be someone that we'll likely have on the show later on. I'm not going to mention him by name yet, but he'll be someone that not everyone, but a lot of people will hear about, because he's just so fucking dedicated with what he does. And he was able to hone in on what he wanted to hone in on and channel that type of like awkward energy into doing what he wanted to do. Anyone can be good at something, right? It's like Naval. right? That's one thing he was saying. And he said that on the Rogan podcast. He said, you know, everyone's so different and so like magnificent that we could all be good at something. And when he said that, I was like, shit, I've been thinking that for fucking years, except I'm not smart enough to be saying shit like that or to be able to back it up.
It's usually what you know, and you should ask your parents. I mean, that's if you got parents and all that, you know, all of those disclaimers, but you should just ask your parents or someone that's known you since you were a kid what you were good at. You know, I've got a mentor of mine, and the first thing he said to me is, what's your natural talents? What you're really good at? I said, I don't know. And he said, well, what's the thing that everyone tells you you're good at? And you think, oh, well, that's not that impressive. That's not that good. So his example was languages. He speaks like 5 languages, fluent, perfect, and at an old age, you know. And then he said to me, you know, when I was younger, people used to say, you got such a talent for languages. He was like, nah, this is easy. What are you on about? But there you go. You know what I mean? So, but the talents range from like everything. Everything. It doesn't have to just be social or, you know, more like leadership-based qualities, like what you said. You know, assistant role has a whole other different skill set than it would as than someone in a head role position.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, look at K-Love, right? Motherfucker was just, he found what he was very, very good at a young age. And he was the best in, I think he graduated as the #1 high school player in the country or some shit like that.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I remember him saying. Yeah.
And then he was a top 5 draft pick the very next year. And then he ended up just getting better and better. And you watch him play. And I mean, the guy doesn't miss foul shots. He's a above average shooter, but I mean, his game, like he honed in on his game so fucking well. Like he found his niche, and he's a walking double now. Like he gets a ton of rebounds, and he scores a decent amount of points. What is he, like a 20 and 10 guy? Almost every year, right? Like that's his niche within the niche of basketball, right? Like you can still be phenomenal at what you do within an already I tightly defined area. Does that make sense, right? So he's, you know, I don't. There's always room, even if someone's already the best at something, you could still, and it's that whole general area, you could still find something specific within that general area that you're better than that person that's best in the world at.
For sure. And even what's cooler is, you know, stacking your skills. So you won't just have one thing that you're really good at naturally. You'll have a couple usually. So then you try and become very, in a specific area, very good using 3 different skills, 3 of your best skills at it. And then you're going to separate yourself massively from everybody else. Scott Adams talks about this the whole time. You like the naval stuff I sent you, huh? What were some of the things that you take with you right now? What's some of the big ones that made an impact on you?
Well, his quotes about money to me were spot on. Right? I loved what he said about income and because it's genuinely exactly it's exactly how I feel. You know, not to blow myself or to, you know, to say too many good things about it, but there were his thought process on money and what it's supposed to do for you is exactly how I feel about it. Once you make a little bit of money, these are some of his quotes. Once you make a little bit of money, your lifestyle stays the same. It just takes the stress away. That's me. I saved so much of my money just so I can not work for X amount of time and be happy and be fine. Like I know if the lights go out, I can maintain my current lifestyle and be perfectly fine for the next however long time. And that's what helps me sleep at night. One subtle problem is upgrading your lifestyle in accordance with the inevitable wage increase. As a result, you stay in the wage slave trap, right? Like people, they make more money. Then all of a sudden, because they make more money, they end up needing to buy more stuff, which ends up fucking them over later on. Right? Like now all of a sudden you're a slave. So it's like I bought this house that's $800,000, but I'm currently living in a place that's based off of a $400,000, right? $400,000 mortgage. So now I pretty much doubled it because I doubled my income so I could afford it. Well, now all of a sudden that extra income is now going to this house and I'm exactly where I was before I had this huge bump in pay. Like I can't live like that. That drives me crazy. Like that type of, no way. Like I need to be in a constant surplus. I need to constantly be able to save. I need to be living well below my means. That's me as a person. And my anxiety can't take that type of pressure. Like to have to constantly be, no, I need to be safe. Like even if I have a paper due in school now, if I have a paper due in a week, I get anxious if it's not done. Like it bothers me that this is weighing in over my head. Unless I already did the calculations in my mind and this paper's only 10% of my grade and I have like a 90 average, well, then I don't give a fuck. I can settle for a B- and not do this paper. Like, right. So as long as I have that surplus and it doesn't matter, I am perfectly fine. But the second I don't have that surplus, no way. That's not how I'm supposed to live. So when he explained it like that, it resonated with me so well. Because that's my life. And even with training, I am super conservative with my training. Not personally. I'll lift like a total fucking monkey and just like, lift all the weights I possibly can. But when it comes to training my athletes, super conservative. Oh, you got a couple in the tank? Good. Leave it in the tank for tomorrow. I don't care. Do not care. Live to lift another day.
Yep.
He also said, ideally, you want to make money in discrete lumps separated by long periods of time so your own lifestyle doesn't have a chance to adapt. Brilliant. I love that stuff.
Yep.
Love it. And he also said something that I found real interesting, that people are reading. They take pictures of all these books on their tables and their desks and stuff as like a way of signaling, right? Like, oh, see how smart I am. I have all these books. I read all these books. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm better than you because look at all these books that I read. And he said, yeah, I seldom read a book to completion. So me personally, I force myself to read books to completion because I've never read books to completion my whole life. And it's because I was a shitty reader and I didn't have any confidence doing it. But I know when I've gotten everything out of a book, like there's some books like Checklist Manifesto. Awesome book. Moral of the story, make a fucking checklist. It saves lives. And the book was a pretty big book that all it did was give, oh, here's an example of how a checklist made things better. Oh, look, in this hospital, by going through checklists, they were able to save $2 million in just the ER alone because of bacterial infections. Hey, checklist 1, wash your hands. Checklist 2, dry them off, right? Like just simple checklists. And then, oh, look, another checklist. Airlines, they were able to reduce any kind of risk with flying or whatever, right? So any and the whole book was literally just example after example after example of moral of the story, get a checklist. I didn't have to read the whole fucking book. Didn't have to read it. I could have saved my fucking time, read the back, saved my time, been like, all right, I'm good. But like getting all those analogies and stuff, checklists are important. Now, there are other books like The Body Keeps the Score. Man, that motherfucker is dense. And I don't think you can do the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of the effort gives you 80% of the results. I don't think you could apply that to a book like that because there's just so much dense information in it where, hey, trauma leaves long-lasting impacts. Yeah, that's the moral. But I mean, the specific situations that they're talking about, that what's his name? Bessel van der Kolk. That's the author. Have you read it?
No,
Oh, phenomenal. Phenomenal read.
No.
You should check it out. It's very, very good. Essentially, moral is the body has trauma, right? But all the different situations. How about Man's Search for Meaning, right? You can't read 80% of Man's Search for Meaning. You just can't. No. You can't read 20%, 80%. Like, you need to read that whole book, right? And that book is just, it's how deep, right?
That's a heavy one.
Yeah. And it's a short one too. Quick read. But in certain aspects, like there's a book called 168 Hours. Well, there's 168 hours in a week. Start budgeting your time better. You know? So when he said you don't have to read books to completion, yeah, he's fucking right. I mean, I felt that the whole time. And with certain books, I'm just like, all right, I'm over this, but I'm just finishing it for my own ego, right? Like, I finished this book cover to cover. Sure. Wasted time.
I went through a phase of wanting to read everything and feeling like I had to read everything. And if I don't read what everybody else has read, then I'm not going to know more than them. And now I kind of feel really different about reading. And I don't think, and let me preface this, I'm not saying that reading is not helpful, but I think what's the most helpful thing people you can do, and especially me, is actually do things and learn in this way and learn my own way about it. I mean, all of these great people that, you know, have written books that have actually changed the dynamic of what's going on. They did it based on their own intuition. And as time's gone on, I feel like I've never done something, I've never been indecisive about something and then thought, oh, well, when I read this book, I remember that this person did this in this sort of circumstance, so I'm just going to do that. I've never done that. And maybe someone with a better memory would, but I've never done that. I've always just been like, what do I think? What's my natural goal on this? And I'll do it. And sometimes, you know, I feel like it always works, because very quickly I'll be like, that was correct or not. And if it's not, then it's like, how do I patch this up to get it to how it needs to go? So it always ends up correct. But my natural GPS, my navigational system, is learning. Mm-hmm. And I think that's for me and I also now I struggle with time to read. Like just this, I mean, right now in these last couple of months, I really do struggle, like from PhD work to then reading things that I'm kind of interested in, and then having the energy, like the cognitive energy to do it is pretty rough. But yeah, I mean, don't get me, like that's one of the things I like about Naval too, who's like, you know, you just want to read the same 100 books over and over again.
So that was the next quote I was just going to read. Yep. He said, read the best 100 books over and over again until you absorb them, rather than read as many books as you can. Right? Like, bro, and I've done that so fucking much, like an idiot. Like, I can't remember
half the shit that
I know. And there's a couple of, books that I read more than once, ones that make me feel good, not ones that make me fucking think. You know what I mean? Like, so like I read Chop Wood, Carry Water probably 4 or 5 times. Why? Confirmation bias. Like it's everything that I preach. But interestingly enough, Naval preached the same thing. He says, give me 10 years. 10 years, do what I say for 10 years and do it to the T. Like, yeah, you'll be rich. Like, but it just takes time. So like anything, give it 10 years, takes fucking time. But I read that book 4 or 5 times over and over and over again. I fucking, and just to be fair, I say read, I don't read, not often. I have a bunch of audibles, so I'm listening to books nonstop when I have time. But
me too.
Yeah,
books I read a lot with.
It's very difficult for me to find time to sit down and read, because everything I'm doing, I'm constantly on the go. I don't have time to really, dude, us doing this podcast and me in class, between the podcast, the hours we spend doing the podcast, and the hours I spend in class, not doing work for class, but in class, 31 hours a week for the class, and then an additional 4 hours minimum a week. So 35 hours a week between the podcast and class. not including work for the podcast or work for class. So that's 35 hours a week just fucking gone. So I don't have time to sit down. This is my sitting down time. So everything I do, I'm on the fucking run. So that's why Audible is just so useful for me.
Yeah. I mean, always when I'm traveling, always when I'm in the sauna, well, not always, but most of the time when I'm in the sauna, even when I'm training, I'm listening to books. Or
I can't do it in the sauna.
Stuff. No?
Oh my God, no. I try in the sauna. I'm just such a cunt that I can't. I'm sitting like, I can't focus. By the way, I don't know how the hell you stay in the sauna for 20 minutes at 212 degrees. Bro, I have it at 194. I can't, and 15 minutes, I sit there, I'm like, I can't even breathe. I can't breathe through my nose. It burns so fucking bad. So I can't even like try to meditate. I don't know how you do it.
Well, I've not done it that often, but I've made sure that I've gone in there cold. Put it that way. That makes a difference too. But man, the hardest thing I did in the sauna was an hour at 80 degrees. Did I tell you about that when I was on the phone to Pat? When I was lying on the floor, I had to crawl out.
That sounds healthy.
But it was one of them ones where it was like I really regret saying that I was going to do that, because the first 30 minutes were like a piece of cake. By 40, it's what is 80 degrees?
176.
176. Yeah,
bro. At 176 degrees, I'm in there for 25 minutes, and I'm like, ugh, I'm done.
Yeah.
Why?
40 minutes, it was so bad.
Dude, you're an idiot.
By 50, I had to go from where I was onto the floor, and I'm sitting there, legs on the floor and my back on the bag. Then, luckily, like Cole was coming down. She was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Get me water. I need water now." Bro, the floor. I mean, I never knew I had that much water in my body. It's just pouring out. And then Pat called me. Thank God, Pat kept me company. And it was just for the last 5 minutes. Then it went from, I was sitting with my back on the wall for literally about a minute. And then I was like, no, this is still too hot. So I just had my whole body flat down on the floor. Just could feel a little bit of breeze coming underneath the bottom of the door that I was just focusing on the whole time.
Well, that just so we're both clear, that wasn't 176 degrees while you were on the ground.
No, for sure not. No. My thermometer is at eye height from the first level of where you sit. The second level, when your head's up the top, the thermometer's in the middle of the height.
Why the
so
fuck?
Even when
why,
so
why
even when
you,
it gets but that's also the thing, right? So when I say it's 100 degrees, it's 100 degrees there. I don't know what it is at the top, because I know that from the bottom to the middle, there's a big difference. So like when my head was on the bottom of right by the floor, it was very different than it was at this thermometer level. I got no idea the difference. I should really check.
Why did you decide to do this?
I can't remember who I heard that had done it, but they said that they did that protocol for 7 days, and it was like, I'm gonna have to try and find it, but they were saying about for growth hormone, it improved it by hundreds of percent. I think it was Laird Hamilton that was talking about this. 80 degrees for an hour every day for like 7 days.
Yeah, so, fuck that guy.
I did an hour, then I went into the cold. After about 2 minutes, I had to get out of the cold because I was seeing Jesus. I got out, and I mean, I was on the floor, on the grass, and that was it. I was Gonzalez for 20 minutes.
Bro, shit like that denatures your fucking brain.
Dude, I felt great afterwards.
Oh, yeah, do you?
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's because you were retarded. You were legally retarded at that point. medically retarded, bro.
Well, it was at the point where if the house was on fire, I would not have been able to move. You know, like when you get yourself into a bad state and you're like, but you know, if it was an earthquake, I'd be able to maneuver myself right now. But there, I wouldn't have. I was gone. It was good though. It was a good experience. It was one of the hardest things I've done in this recent time since I was in India.
What'd you do in India?
I did a really big like mountain trip that usually took 3 days, and I went up and down it, and I had terrible equipment. Well, I had none of my own equipment. I had to borrow this equipment off of this guy who gave me his dad's stuff, which was like a plastic bag that I put into a pair of shoes that looked like they were 300 years old. They had like curled, you know, like where they're so old. And he gave me washing up gloves, you know, like kitchen gloves that your mum would wear. He gave me some of them to put on. Anyway. And then we were going up, and it was pretty high. It wasn't super bad, not like in Peru. But by the time we got halfway up to the top, the weather started coming in, and then we keep going. And one of the guys I was with, he was just in a pair of jeans and like a army kind of jacket. These like local people, they're just mad, man. And by the time we got to the top, it was just horrible, and it was pretty late. And then the way down, it kept getting worse, man. The weather got worse. By the time I got back down to the motorbike, I mean, we were running and like sliding down the mountain to try to get off it as quick as we could.
Why?
Because the weather, it was getting dark. You know, the clouds were coming. It was so cold. It would go from like being so cold to hot. And we were like, we want to get down. I mean, there's a reason why it takes you, you know, a couple days to get up and down. Like, you know, and I just said I wanted to try and get it done because I only had 1 day to do it. And I thought, fuck it, if we're not going to get there, I feel like I'm smart enough to be like, today's not the day, let's turn around and go back. But that day, I mean, we managed to turn out. But the best part, or the funniest part now looking back, is by the time we eventually got back to where I'd parked the motorbike, it was pitch black, and all of their bikes, the electrics, so they were jerry rigging everything. These fucking guys, man. Like this bike, anyway. As I turned the bike on, the headlamp gone, no headlamp, on gravel road at the top of a mountain, where as far as I could drive it. And then the guy who was with me was like, "Hey, do you mind dropping me off home?" And I was like, "Well, where you live, man? I mean, I don't know where the hell I'm going here. I've got no phone, no signal. You know, I don't even have a fucking headlight on the bike." But then I was like, if he's on the back, at least I'm not alone, because it could be way worse if I'm alone. So now I had to go through switchbacks, through like, you know, a lot of trees where it was even dark. It was more dark than anything I'd ever seen before. But what I realized
you're riding, and you're on your fucking motorcycle.
Yeah, with this guy on the back. And then what I found out was when I pressed the horn, it would somehow get the headlamp on. So, right.
Fucking Dumb and Dumber.
Bro. And I mean, I'm dead tired, bro. We started it at 4:30 in the morning, this way up, right? And I'm trying to keep up with these two Indian guys that are like mountain goats. These two guys and I hadn't done any mountaineering in ages, you know, and I had Delhi belly because of all the fucking food over there. So anyway, that day going up and down, I mean, these guys were so nice. I mean, at the top, he was giving me sugar cane, and I took a sandwich with me like an idiot. But my bag got soaking wet because of the weather that was coming in and like falling a couple of times in the snow, that my sandwich was just slush. So, you know, it looked like baby food. You might as well, you know, not even a bird would have ate that shit. You know what I mean? If it was on the floor, you know, but I scoffed it down because I needed calories so bad. It was so cold up the top. You know, the picture of the mountain, man, it's a beautiful mountain. And you think it's going to be worth it when I get to the top. But when we got to the top, I would never have fucking known because I couldn't see my hand in front of my fucking face. And all I'm caring about is two guys there with me. They want to pray because there's a temple, little miniature temple thing. They want to pray and give. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't want to be a cunt there, but I really want to get down. Time's going. I'm cold as fuck. You know, my feet, bro, because they give me a fucking plastic bags to put my feet in. My feet had got so wet from the sweat because they couldn't breathe, to then being stuck in snow. I mean, it's not like they were hiking boots. They were like old leather boots. Like imagine like old old American football boots, the cleats that guys would wear, but back in time, you know, like that's what they look like. So then anyway, just as we got down off the switchbacks, the horn goes from being no horn.
So you
and I'm up in
beep?
Couldn't even beep.
Did you try yelling?
No, dude. It didn't matter about the sound. I needed fucking light, bro.
That's what I'm saying, to turn the light on.
Bro, I actually ended up with the indicator, because every time the indicator would flash, it would light up a little bit of the road in front of me. And at least...
Why is this asshole always turning?
And at least other cars, because the trucks there are driving like fucking lunatics, so at least they would see me from the front and the back if I've got it on, you know. And my buddy on the back, Raj, he didn't give a monkeys. And I'm sitting there sweating bullets thinking, we're going to fucking die. I'm taking this guy to God knows where, and I got to try and get myself back. I mean, luckily, there weren't that many roads, so I, you know, more or less, I got lost so many times, I more or less know how to get myself back to where I was. But then, anyway, I didn't even get him all the way home. At one point, there was this massive part, and I said, Raj, bro, I'm sorry, man, but, you know, the fuel on the bike's low, because I didn't trust anything. I didn't trust the gauges didn't work properly. I never knew how much fuel. I said, Raj, man, because we were just driving for too long. I said, bro, can you walk from here? Are you cool? Like, yeah, I'm good, man. I was like, all right. Cool.
How long were you riding for?
20 minutes, but in the complete other direction of where I was going. But dude, this is like 10:30 at night. Cole was fucking losing her mind because she ain't heard from me all day long. You know? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, knowing you could be dead.
Well, never. I haven't gone yet, right? Lost a couple of the cat lives, but yeah, man. And that's it was a good memory. That's like my only good memory of India. Apart from that, fuck India, bro. That's a rough place to be. So, but the funny thing, and I said about this story this week, you know, one of the important things for me is good memories, man. But, you know, all my favorite memories, in the meantime, when I was in the process of creating those memories, in that moment, they were all pretty minging. Do you know what I mean? Like, they weren't like all like the real happy moments. Like, I don't really remember them. I had a lot, but they're not really the things that I sort of keep with me. Like, all the best memories I've got, yeah, they were all pretty minging at the time when I was doing them.
And can you tell them what minging is?
Minging's just like awful, or like not so nice.
You and your cockney.
You don't know minging?
No, I don't know minging.
You never called a bird a minger before? No. Oh, you're missing out, bro. So, but that's just me, and like, I mean, I don't know, bro.
I could agree with that. Like, some of my worst times were the times that I think about and looking back, and it was a good time. But I mean, I remember some of my favorite memories. When I was truly happy, it was. So one of my buddies, Shooter, he comes up to me one day. He goes, "You know how I know there's a God?" I said, "How?" He goes, "I was standing in the outfield. I was like, man, it's hot." And then as soon as I said that, I just felt like this nice warm breeze, this nice cool breeze just hugging me. I sat there. I was like, oh man, thanks. He's like, that like, for some reason to him, like that moment, that point, it just felt divine. Mm. And when I was going through like some shitty stuff, I was coming back, and I was on my motorcycle, and I used to fast all day and then like kind of meditate after a 24-hour fast and try to just, I don't know, work shit out. Right. Mm. And I was praying, I was meditating. And as I was coming back from that, I'm on my bike, and it was cold, but the sun was setting. Right. And I'm looking at this gorgeous sunset. And by bike, I'm on my motorcycle. And there's this gorgeous sunset and it's chilly. And then all of a sudden, you know, I felt this nice warm breeze start hugging me. And I immediately thought back to Shooter. I was like, oh man, like this is happy. This is divine. This is awesome for whatever reason, right? And to me, that's a really happy time. Like that's a happy memory that I think about, and it's holy fuck. Another one that I think about where
you started with cold.
Sure,
you started feeling cold.
Yeah. I mean, it started bad and then ended up right, and then
right.
And yeah. So a lot of the memories, a lot of my happiest memories come from a shit time. Yeah.
And maybe not the worst times, right? Like I'm not saying like your parents die in a car crash and it's like that's your best memory that you've got, but in the process of doing, you know, there needs to be that appreciation. And that really only comes when your perspective gets a flip. You know what I mean? Like if it was warm the whole time, you might have not even concerned yourself with how you were feeling because you were maybe somewhere else in your head thinking about something that wasn't really that important. You know what I mean? But that cold managed to sort of bring you back into the moment. And then you got to feel that warm breeze, which maybe was already there too, but you just never actually felt it before on that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, without agony, you can't have pleasure, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure I've mentioned it on this podcast before, but do you ever hear the Twilight Zone?
You've said this story. I've not seen Twilight Zone, but yeah, you've said this story. Yeah.
You know, so it's just like the guy who's a compulsive gambler, and he
goes to hell.
He goes to hell, and what is hell? Yeah. He never loses.
Yeah.
Right. Without, and every single time, blackjack. Fuck, losing his mind. Right. So like, it's. I mean, if you are always winning, and never losing, you can't really be happy about winning. It's like what you said Bill Zarian had said, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, when you take a guy that's focused on living that kind of life and he says the journey to the top's better than being at the top, and you hear all these other people say the same sort of thing, then you got to take notice. So, and I mean, you know, and this comes back to the whole reading, you know. Who's to say that if you can look at something purely yourself without the influence of others, that you might come up with the best answer that's ever been there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's the same with also like coaching and, you know, and sport. Like, I'm so glad that I kind of just took myself away, you know, from it all. You know, like really, like that whole time I was really gone too. That was like a really big sort of dopamine fast. I mean, yeah, all right, I would drop a ton of pictures up on Instagram at some point, but I was in general pretty hard to get in touch with. I was really off it all to just try to get some sense of what normal was again. You know what I mean? And like that for me is it's the key. There's got to be that complete and utter separation in order for you to sort of fully experience what it is that you're really going through. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. The a concept like that, the busiest particles in the universe, the ones that are constantly moving, are the ones at some point stay the most still.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I do that. That's shit that I just practice by the fire. Just be as still as possible.
Sure.
As still as humanly possible, because it's just, you just have to slow it down and you have to remove yourself and you have to get away.
Yeah. That's why people really like Tai Chi too. This slow moving stuff. But I mean, also you don't even have to really, you know, it's funny, like there's no real line to it, you know, like so many people like I get questions now too from people asking me some questions, and I really don't understand what they're actually asking, because it's like, how do you do this, or how do you? I don't know. Like, I had a question earlier on. How did you go away and not lose your mind because with your own thoughts or something along those lines? I mean, that seems like almost an impossible answer, because even the answer that I sort of responded back to, I don't know if that's real or not, because I'm a completely different person now than I was back then. And after this podcast, I'm a completely different person than I was before. And this whole, you know what I mean? Like, I think, who we all kidding with all this shit, bro? You know what I mean? And like going back, like with coaching and that, you know, it's going to be interesting, you know, where we both end up going, because I think that the more we can hone in on our own natural intuitions, like we did a lot of looking around and getting the good bits and bobs from other people. But I think that for us to really progress is very much like diving headfirst deep into what really excites us and you know, and we're curious about. Because you want to be unique and different. You might have the skill set, and you might be presented with the opportunity to do something that you never knew you were capable of doing.
Well,
but if you're looking for that step that this one guy in the book had, like, oh, well, I'm now at step 2 and I'm looking for what he had as his step 3, you might be jumping up to a couple, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
no one's done your path.
Yeah, it reminds me of what EA said. How do you make it? Be first, be best, or be different?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a killer combo when you're all 3.
So you brought up Tai Chi. What do you know about Tai Chi?
Is that how you say it now, Tai Chi?
Yeah, bro, I'm bougie as fuck. I say yang. I say yang as well. I don't say yang. And if I'm really feeling up to it, I won't even say yin. I'll say in.
Oh,
yin and yang.
Holy shit, bro.
Oh.
No, dude, I don't know anything about it, to be completely honest. I've seen people do it in different parts of the world. It looks very cool.
Do you know what Tai Chi translates to?
No idea.
Supreme ultimate.
Oh, really? Crazy.
How fucking sick is that?
That's crazy. I remember seeing this absolutely jacked dude doing it on the beach in the south of Brazil. And that was badass, because all the other people I'd seen do it before were kind of dweeby looking. They looked like a strong breeze would blow them over. You know what I mean? But to see this guy under so much control doing it was great.
Yeah, I was doing, when Vicky and I first started dating, was when I first started school, and we had Qigong and Tai Chi. Those were 2 courses that we had to take. And it was summertime, and it was literally the first time her and I went to the beach together was the last time I went to the beach in the past like 2 whatever years. And on the beach, I was doing Tai Chi, and I guess she thought I was fucking badass or weird or whatever. Like she's like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like I want to do that. But Tai Chi on the beach, bro, so cool. Qigong, Tai Chi, whatever. On the beach, great. And I do aspects of Qigong every single day with my grounding. And it's 15 total breaths. That's all I do. That's the bare minimum that I do, and I do it every day. 15 breaths. And with the morning crew that I have now, when we go and we work out, you know, for the weight loss crew, and you know, guys like me that just don't want to be fat fucks anymore. I make sure we go for a walk. We'll walk about a half mile, take our shoes off, go on the grass, do our 15 breaths, and then we come out, and then we go in and we start our workout. It's a great way. It's a slow way and a easygoing way to keep your focus and forget about everything else. It's pretty, like, to explain it like that. And even when the people had emailed you and asked you, like, how don't you go crazy in your own thoughts? Well, that's why you do these things. That's why you meditate. And I mean, you're just sitting still, right? Like, just be still. Be that slow moving particle in the universe, and just chill out and allow your thoughts to come through because they're suppressed because you're busy all the time. You don't have time to think. So let those thoughts come through and let them work themselves out. I mean, that is therapy. What the fuck is therapy anyway? You're sitting there and you're getting your thoughts out. You're getting it out there. I mean, that's why they say even journaling, right? A 5-minute journal. It's a great therapy. There were presidents. I want to say it was Jefferson. Not like it matters to you, but I want to say it was Jefferson who would write a letter. If he got bad news and he had to respond to it right away, and he had to write, and so he would write the letter, put it in a drawer, and wait 24 hours before sending it out. Gave him a chance to like get it out, put it on paper. And he said by the end of his presidency, he had stacks and stacks of papers, letters that he just never sent out, right? So it gives you an opportunity, even just writing that stuff out. It's therapeutic. Just get it out. So sitting there, thinking of nothing, letting those thoughts just fucking come and go and come and go. There's your therapy right there. Right? Like, so, I mean, you came back and you don't give a fuck about certain shit, right? Like, and you were always kind of that guy anyway, but all that stress that you left with, you didn't come back with it.
No, and you know, like, it's weird because like the whole word like meditation has such a weight to it, you know, and because you don't need to sit, you know, I think there's many things that can be meditative, right? Even eating food can be meditative if you're in the right,
going for a walk.
Place. Sex can be or cannot be, or walking or cycling or hot and cold stuff, like even just training, like that sort of Tai Chi stuff. I mean, where's the line between it? I mean, I don't know what it is exactly that you're doing. I guess it's just some movements with your body, right? Like you're going through sort of open chain movements, like some basic calisthenic work, or what is it? Because where's the boundary, you know, between that and just sort of some sort of dynamic stuff that you do by yourself? You know what I mean? It's all the same shit.
Yeah.
But we love to put like a label on it and like, oh, well, I do this. So like, it's like everyone's playing like the status and power game.
Yeah. It's ego. Everything.
Yeah. But I mean, also like, and like, I don't mean to make this all confusing, but like, I don't think ego is also like a bad thing. I think if you've got an unjustified ego, like you're just a prick and you've done nothing to almost deserve it, there's an issue there. But like, if you're like, say, like, for example, if you look at videos of Mike Tyson, right?
You got to have an ego.
This guy was the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
Definition of ego: a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance.
Yeah, so it's important. I would say you want to have an ego, but it needs to be congruent with what you've actually done and what you've achieved. So say, like, for example, Mike Tyson, right? They used to interview him, and if you see bits that are pulled out of context, he's like, yeah, well, I'm the best ever. It's an insult that this person can even think that he can come into the cage with me. Like, you know, well, he used to say things like, I want to eat his children or stuff like that, right? Like I think that's how far he would go. But there's nothing wrong with the man. That was helping him do what he wanted to do, and it was 100%. Justified. You know what I mean? So yeah, like I don't know, man. Like there's so much push for, and it seems like that's it. That's the case in the whole culture right now. Like you have to kind of be and think and say things in this way, and like ego's bad and humble.
You know, like you want to be humble.
So yeah, here's what the fuck's that all about?
Here's what pisses me off about. Oh, he's so humble. You want to know the motherfucking definition of humble? Having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own self-importance.
Yeah, and this fucks.
Imagine if Steve Jobs was fucking humble.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me?
Exactly. And I'm glad that we're talking about this shit, right? Because
there's a bunch of cunts out there.
Yeah, just pussy fucking people that don't want to do nothing with their life. And then when there are people that are out there doing it and they're being brave and courageous and they have a big ego that they deserve, these fucking pussy ninja warriors, keyboard warriors, sorry, are trying to fucking drag them all down. But there are 6. So there's a fantastic book and an old psychologist called Andrew Salter, right? This guy wrote a book called Conditioned Reflex Therapy, and it is a really fucking good book. It was written ages ago. He used to have a super successful practice in New York. He never studied formally anything past a bachelor's in psychology, I believe. He was incredible, and he changed the field forever, right? He used to say that all psychological issues are due to inhibition. Everything from like addictions to basic anxiety or depression or different stuff like this, right? So he would say that the cure for that is excitation. So he would have these 6 drills that he would make sure that people had to do all the time. And it's pretty funny when you start. And these are one of the first basic stuff that I go through with people. First one is feeling talk. Say how you feel. If you're good, say you're feeling good. If you don't feel good, say you don't feel good. You know, like being completely transparent with how you're feeling, right? Maybe not. And circumstances depend, right? If you're up and you're a headmaster at school and you're saying that you feel really sad, I mean, I'm not saying that you should do it then, but you know what I mean? Like expressing of your feelings, especially with people that you need to, right? So if you do something to me that I don't like and I say, yeah, well, it's all right, but inside I'm like, you a fucking cunt. That's not working, right? That's not psychologically healthy. Then the next one is facial talk. So that's part of this one, because if I say to you, I'm feeling really sad, but I'm kind of smiling because I'm not really feeling those emotions, I'm missing a lot of the pathways neurologically of what's going on. It's like if you smile, it makes you feel happy because it's kind of just been associated through conditioning over and over and over again. Or maybe it wasn't how it originally started because babies smile and shit. But you know what I'm trying to say, right? Being with all the micro expressions, you've got so many muscles on your face, have them express what it is also that you're saying in terms of your feelings. Now, the next one is I talk, which is you say I a lot. So say what you think, what you feel, what you're doing. Talk about yourself. You know, it's very, very important. Now, the next ones come in, and these are quite interesting. The next one is express agreement when praised. Now, think about that.
Yep.
Express agreement when praised.
Yep.
So, and I do this a lot with all my clients. I tell them how good they're done. And if they ever give me that shit like, oh yeah, well, it wasn't that good, it could have been better. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. Like, what are you really doing? I'm taking time and energy out of myself to praise you for doing something that I perceive as well. And you're receiving social recognition, but you're then making yourself feel bad for receiving it and pushing it away. Is so damaging to you. There's nothing worse. How do you know that you're doing good? Because the people you love and trust around you are telling you, that's good, bro. You know what I mean? So then if I say, bro, you're doing so great, man. Like, I'm just proud of you. You're rocking it. You say, yeah, well, it's just not really that good enough. I don't want to say it back to you. And almost you make me feel bad. Like, you're feeling bad. I'm feeling bad that I praise you. So it's a bit of a shit show. So that's very psychologically damaging. And I used to do that when I was younger.
Oh, dude, I'm still a cunt that does that.
Yeah, but you shouldn't do it. You should be.
What sucks
you should be more like, go on.
What sucks is I genuinely don't think that I do a good job. But if I do well enough, I'm like, yeah, that was fucking good.
Yeah, I mean.
But if someone praises me, dude, any kind of compliment, any kind of praise, I have no idea how to handle it. Never got complimented my whole life.
you should say thank you. And, I also think that we've done a really good job here. Like, I'm really happy with the result too. I mean, you don't have to be a prick about it. Like, yeah, well, I'm fucking just Jesus, I'm a genie. I touch you and boom, it's gone, but, so that one's important. Then contradict and attack. So if you're hearing things that you don't agree with, or something happens that you don't agree with, you have to contradict it and you have to stand up for yourself, because it builds tremendous resilience, and your self-esteem goes up through the roof. But you have to be brave enough to do it. A lot of this is to do with bravery and courage, right? It's funny. Like, I don't think people a couple hundred years ago had to go over this, but I could be wrong. I don't know. And then the last one, which is my favorite one, is be spontaneous. But those were the drills that he would get. And a lot of people there, and this book, I mean, I pick it up every now and then, and it's a shame that some of the case studies are escaping my mind, because it's full of them. They're fascinating. And these drills are these are exercises that you can be practicing all day, every day, and they help to build this sense of bravery and courage as to who you are. They help to increase your self-esteem, and at the same time, things like ego. But dude, I have a big issue if people say that ego's a bad thing. Well, what are you going to do without an ego?
Well, and not to mention, everything that you do, you need to do with fucking confidence. You have, if you're not confident, are you kidding me? If you don't have an ego, you ain't going to be fucking confident. So then what are you doing? So if you're saying, oh, no, I really don't feel like this, like, then you're just a fucking liar. Like, wait, so, right? Like, what the hell? What are we talking about here? People want to criticize people for having an ego all the time. I mean, look at the Conor McGregor thing, right? Yeah. Oh, Conor McGregor, he talks to, or Muhammad Ali talking about like what round he's knocking motherfuckers out in, or the Mike Tyson, right? Like, this is what you're supposed. Now, these are fighters, but you think there's a CEO who heads a company, a multi-million billion-dollar company, that's going to say, well, maybe I know what I'm doing, maybe I don't, I'm not too sure. No, this mother is like, no, this is how you do it. This is how you run a fucking company. And anyone have any questions? Get your own fucking company, be the fucking CEO of it, and prove me the fuck wrong.
Sure. And he might be having doubts sometimes with what he's doing, but that's a natural part of the way it is. They're going to be few and far between as time goes on, and that you build up these internal resources, let's say. But bro, like, you know, and it's funny, man, because some of the things the questions I get from people and that, and I really believe that the majority of people, man, even though they say that it's really bad and like they don't want it to be like this anymore, they do want it to be that way. I don't think that they really want it to be different, because if you did, you'd move yourself. Like, you could change your situation based on two things, either inspiration and desperation. Inspiration would be nice if it worked most of the time, but it's pretty hard to be inspired to always make big changes. But desperation's a pretty fucking good way of getting people moving their ass. Yeah, you understand what I mean?
100%. And I think about this. This is what I talk about with McCourty all the time. That's a very delicate and very interesting, strange fucking situation where you have someone that's depressed, and all the person has to do, and we treat patients like this all the time, where I've said, do me a favor, take your shoes off, go outside, and stand on the grass. And the person comes up with every single excuse in the world as to why they can't just stand barefoot on the fucking grass. Because realistically, you go for a walk outside for 20 minutes. Don't bring your phone, don't bring anything, right? Go out for a walk for 20 minutes. You come back, you're going to feel a lot better, right? You're not going to feel nearly as bad as you did prior to the walk. And they can't do it, right? There are people that are so fucking depressed, they can't even manage to wake up, get up, and almost feed themselves, right? Yeah. So they don't want to feel like that. Like, they genuinely don't want to feel like that. But for some reason, they don't feel, it's not to the point where they just do the little things that work. Like, when my back fucking hurts, if it's like whatever, I'm just like, I'll just sit there, I'll complain about it, I'll do my, little, that's why, if anyone ever watches the podcast, you see me doing this, it's because my back is killing me, right? But there's things that I can actually do to prevent my back from hurting this bad, right? I can do certain stretches every single day for X amount of time, and my back actually doesn't feel bad. It prevents this from happening, but I don't do it. Why? Because I'm fucking lazy. Why? Because I'm not that desperate right now where my back, where it hurts so badly that I need to do these fucking stretches, right? So it goes back to what you said. It's fucking desperation, but going back to the depression, it's tough. I mean, truly depressed people, getting them moving, it's like, for instance, someone wanting to lose weight. How badly do they want to lose weight? They all want to lose weight that bad, but what's going to get them into the gym? And what's going to get them to stop eating the fucking Ritz crackers? What is that extra hump? that we just need to get them over? We're not seeing something. Is it desperation?
There's no answer. There's no one. It's actually well, how much do you want to change? Like, they don't even need to go to a gym.
No. They just need to stop eating. They don't need
to do anything. Yeah, exactly.
You actually do nothing and you'll lose weight.
Exactly. Exactly. So, look, with things like, and this is like where these sort of conversations always, they seem to get hard, because then people are like, well, you don't know how it is for me. And you're right, I don't. But also people don't, like, I don't know how you really feel. I can understand you as much as what you're willing to share, but even still, no matter how empathetic I am, I'm never going to experience what you're going through, right? But the same vice versa. Now, there are people that for sure, and I mean, this is like, the 90% of people, or probably more than that. I mean, it just seems like in America that you have this mental health issue, which it doesn't seem like it's as big elsewhere in the world. That's what it seems like to me. It seems like there's this very big issue there, right? Could be that maybe I'm ignorant and I don't know the facts. Could easily be, or it could be that it's reported different. I don't know, but it seems like over there it's really, really big, right? Now, there are people that are going to for sure just have naturally depressive symptoms, like they're just born that way, and they're going to be like, it's like there is a chemical issue. I'm sure of it. If we look at like subclinical stuff, I'm not talking about clinical based cases, right? I've got no right to be talking about anybody with clinical grade depression and different stuff like that. But the majority of people, the sense of, they just sort of, the devil they know is better than the devil they don't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like a lot of the time, like I get messages from guys, and after a little while they say, man, that was really good. And I said, well, what did you actually learn? Well, actually, I learned that I don't actually have anything wrong with me. I just needed a kind of a bit of a kick. And they just got themselves going again, because also even like the best kind of like therapy, like I don't think I do therapy, and I don't think I'm a psychologist or none of that stuff. I'm interested in it. I'm studying my PhD in psychology, but I wouldn't say I'm a psychologist, and I would never call myself that. But the best therapists to me are more like philosophers, and they have these different levels of what they can do to relate to people, to try to get them moving in their own life. Because really, they're not going, right, listen, here's a little sheet, take this card and just read the back of it, and then you're fucking sorted. Do you know what I mean? Like that's not it either. Like,
well, it could work.
People need they need to live their own life and do their own thing and become almost what their destiny is meant to be. Try to become God themselves. You understand what I mean? Like, just go and just keep going and pursue it. Like, no matter what you want to say, like, and again, it's not like for fucking clinical cases, but I'm sure there's also good examples of clinically ill patients that have managed to sort of turn it around and do something really great with their life, even though they might still struggle with it. They've managed to succeed in spite of it. You look around, because there's examples everywhere. Like, everybody struggled. There's not a single person who's lived life the whole time and never had something bad happen to them. Even like people that, like trust fund kids, like people say, oh, well, you don't know because you've never had it hard. Well, you don't know, because maybe they got everything that you think that you need to make your life better, and they're missing the one thing that they wish that you had, which is maybe time with their parents, right? I know, so I don't think, it's so hard to know what's the right place to be putting even children involved with. You know what I mean? Like, how to chuck them into the right environment. You don't know. And I think that the real conclusion is that there isn't one. Life's just meant to be like one big experiment. You just chuck them in and then just see what happens.
Yeah. So what you had said about America being more mental health issues, I believe the rest of the world, 1% of the population is schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
In America, it's 1.5%.
Okay.
As far as depression goes, I believe something like 60% of the American population will experience depression and or anxiety at some point in their life. 60% of 330 million people. So what is that? 180 million people, right?
But I would say it would be 100% of people.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because you know,
anxiety, a true panic attack though, right? Like how many people have legitimate fucking anxiety attacks?
Okay. Well,
You know what I mean? Like where have you ever had like a flat out panic attack before?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No. So you saying I think so versus, oh no, I've driven myself to the hospital thinking I had a fucking stroke because the side of my face went fucking numb.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, I couldn't move, and I was in, debilitate. I was like completely broken down. Couldn't stop crying.
Yeah. Panic attack right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And change. But yeah, I would say that but I'd never, how are you even going to define this?
Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons why I think something along those lines in America occurs is because of the lack of adversity, right? It's when you don't have that struggle, you find things to struggle over, right? Like look at all the bullshit that goes on that people complain about. That people say stuff like first world problems. Oh, it's just first world problems. Oh, I couldn't get my shore house this summer. Oh man, my summer's ruined. This is terrible, and they're upset about it, right? Meantime, you go over to India, and there's something called Delhi belly, where they literally just eat their own food, and their stomach goes to hell. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's why are we depressed? Because for the same exact reason why that Twilight Zone episode is so miserable for that guy. Why is that hell? Because he doesn't fail, because he never loses. So, I mean, if you never really have any real adversity, there's no downs to really give you the ups. So everything's just blah. Your whole life is one big up, and it's just still a blah.
Yeah. And I think like, it's kind of like the weather, like it's always, depending on where you are, it's going to rain. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's raining. And sometimes it seems like life's in your favor, and sometimes it seems like it's not. If you've got something worthy enough that you're sort of striving for, I think that it don't really matter. Like you can just sort of keep on going. But then it's kind of hard with, and I mean, I don't know because I don't live over there, but like what are people really striving for? Like I try to prioritize that. If each day's new, we get another day under the sun. I try to focus firstly on what's the main priorities. So it works like this for me. Health is the first one, my health. So I wake up and I focus on my own health. Then my wealth. And that involves, creativity, working financially,